Let's see. Does this work?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, I can see and hear you guys, I think.
Great.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. It's all different times of the world at the moment, but
Yes.
It's nice and early out here. That's okay.
It's like the first time I've done one where it's actually still light outside, so that's quite amazing.
When are you usually doing it?
Like maybe in like 2 or 3 hours time, so it's like 7 or 8 o'clock. So but this is good. This makes a nice change.
Good. We're happy to make it work.
So for people who don't know anything about Lez Hang Out, do you want to introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about what Lez Hang Out actually is?
Yes.
Sure. Go for it, Ellie.
All right, I'll go for it. So Lez Hang Out is a podcast all about LGBTQ representation in the media. We are obviously pro LGBTQ representation in the media. We want more of it. And so we like to highlight creators or different people in the queer community who are making content for queer people, actors, all this kind of stuff. And then we also have a segment called Should Have Been Gay, where we talk about TV shows and movies that'd be better if they were gay, which is basically every single one of them.
Or kind of were gay.
Yeah, or
secretly
like
really gay.
Severe gay subtext that we needed to dive into. And yeah, we've been around this is our 6th season.
Wow.
Which is sort of crazy because most podcasts do not make it to a 6th season. Most podcasts don't even make it to a 2nd season. So we really love what we do. And we plan on to keep making gay content as long as these mics will let us. Yeah. Anything else to add, Leigh? Did I do a good intro?
I think that covers it. That was great.
Great.
Perfect. So what made you come up with the idea?
This idea actually happened because Ellie and we met through an a cappella festival in Oakland like 7-8 years ago, and started kind of, we clocked each other at this festival, started talking a lot more because we actually don't live anywhere near each other. I'm out in the East Bay outside San Francisco. Ellie's out in Boston. But we just started talking on the phone a lot, and we would literally just sit and talk for like an hour or two at a time about like what kind of shows were on, what was on. At the time, it was a lot of like what YouTube series is coming up these days. And so we just used to sit and chat, and we literally were on the phone one day. I was sitting in my backyard. Ellie was on a layover at an airport. We'd been on the phone for like an hour and Ellie's an audio engineer. And, at some point we were just like, gosh, we should be recording these conversations. Like people would enjoy listening to this, which is like such a conceited thing to think. But we also happened to have like an audio, like production guru with us. And we both had like some recording equipment, obviously just from the a cappella stuff. And so we were like, we could just try it. And so we just started brainstorming. We were like, what would we call it? We're coming up with names. We literally came up with the name. We came up with a bunch of segment ideas on that same phone call. We came up with the theme song, I think, on that same phone call, which I still can't believe we stuck with and have kept this whole time. And then it just kind of like spun out from there. Like, we just kind of put a plan in place, picked a date, started recording some episodes, and kind of came up with like a whole launch plan and everything. I think Ellie and I are both the type of people who have always been the like driving will behind a lot of our projects with other people. So we got both of us on this one thing, and it just made it real easy to make stuff happen.
Yeah, it's probably nice to have 2 of you as well, because if one of you's like, oh, I'm not sure about that, you've always got another sounding voice. That's probably really good.
Yes.
And we are also, we talk about this a lot. Like, we're very opposite in certain ways, but like opposite in the ways that make Lez Hang Out work really well, which is like, I am like shoot for the stars. Like I have a million ideas in this crazy brain of mine, and I'll just be like, Leigh, so how, like, what if we did this? And what if we did this? Like, even like we wrote a musical and we were like, what if we wrote a musical? And Leigh's like, that's sort of crazy, but here's how we could make it happen, right?
Yeah,
So
we kind of,
yeah.
Ellie sets impossible goals, and then my like hesitation and planning sense kind of like turns them into something actually attainable that I probably would have aimed down here instead, you know. And so it sort of like it keeps
brings us
moving
into a
us.
space
It's quite
where we
good, yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Yes, somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle. But it's like you have to have someone who has that. You know, just like we can do anything, like we can do anything we want. Let's just decide to do it. And I'm like, is that how that works? I don't think that's how that works. But it is actually, it is. And so you just kind of have to make sure that you have like someone who's keeping it at a realistic level, and then someone who's like pushing beyond what, you know, like what my comfort zone would have been. And so the combination actually has worked out really well for us.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, because I think it's very relatable as well, your discussions that you have on there. It's stuff that you would have like chats about with your friends and stuff like that. So I can see, you know, I'm sure you've got a lot of people probably messaging you and stuff and saying, this is what we talk about. And that's really good, because I think it's important to be relatable to people, that you're actually wanting people who listen. Yeah.
The messages, like the emails and the DMs and stuff that we get, like the ones that always for me hit the most are people who message us, because we get a lot of you know, emails from people who are like, oh my god, I love this is everything I talk about with my friends and stuff like that. But the ones that really get to me are the ones with people who don't have a lot of queer community, and they're like, you know, we get emails all the time from someone who'll say like, hey, I found your podcast, you know, a year ago. I have listened to every episode you've ever put out, some of them multiple times, and this is like, you are my queer friends. Like this is the stuff that I don't have anyone to talk to about. And I get to have those conversations like by listening to your podcast. And like we've had people email us and say like, oh my God, like I was at an event and I didn't know anyone there and I just felt so alone, and I put my headphones on and I had you guys in my ears. And then it was like I was there with friends. And for us, we're just like, oh,
well,
God.
look, I'm already starting to cry. Like, I'm like, why did you do this to me in the middle of the day?
I'm so sorry. Did you bring tissues?
I just did my makeup.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, we tell people all the time, like guests when we bring them on, and you know, everyone kind of always wants to know like the vibe of the podcast they're coming on to as a guest. Like not everyone has time to listen to your whole back catalog to come on an episode. And we're always like, the show is called Lez Hang Out. Like that's the vibe. The vibe is like, we're just hanging out. We're just chatting. We like talking to people. We like talking to each other. But I think that it is like the fact that has been what it becomes in a lot of people's lives. Like that's what we wanted, right? Like that was the goal when we created it, when we first started talking about like making this show. That's what we were aiming for. And so the fact that it comes across the way we wanted it to, and that it like has become this thing in people's lives, and we're just like,
yeah, it's amazing
so cool.
when you get feedback like that. That's exactly what you want to hear, isn't it? Like I've had people say that, and you're like, wow, you've actually made someone's day, or like you cheered them up, and you think, wow, like to have an impression on somebody, that's like the best thing.
It makes Ellie cry every time.
Every time. Here I am.
I understand that.
With the waterworks. But I mean, it is so important. I mean, we know, even like I have a pretty like large group of queer friends, and even still, like I just think about the fact that like I have that resource here. And for the people who don't have that resource, like I just feel like it's super important for somebody to be that resource. Like if it's us, I'm happy. If it's not us, I'm also happy. You know, like I just want people to have those lifelines in spaces where they might not have like the actual like lesbian bar down the street, or the even just like gay events or any sort of thing like that. Like to have a space where you're like, oh, I'm not the only person who thinks like this.
Yeah, but also podcasts, you can sort of put it on and no one has to know what you're listening to. So if you want it to be private, it's not like you're sitting there reading a book or watching something with other people. Like, I think that's important as well. It's quite intimate in a way.
Yeah, we've for sure had, especially like younger listeners, like, you know, people who are still living at home, like high school age kind of. We hear from them sometimes too, that it's, you know, they're like, oh yeah, I listened to this and then I like immediately delete the episodes from my phone so my parents don't know, and like stuff like that. And we're just like,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yes. Or like, oh my gosh, I had this piano student that I taught when she was like, I don't even know, like 11 or 12. And she just sent us a message this year that was like, so after we took piano lessons, I looked you up online and I started listening to Lez Hang Out. And I didn't know I was gay when we were taking piano lessons, but now I really know because I listened to this.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, this is so like, I just love
awesome.
The fact that like we're a part of people's journey, like in every step, right? People who may also come out later in life. Like we had a really good episode with Elena Joy Thurston, who runs, what is it called, Leigh? What is it called?
Oh gosh, you're gonna put my brain on the spot.
I'm so sorry. I'll look it up real fast just because I need to know. But
yeah, she came out later in life.
The Pride and Joy Foundation. Pride and Joy Foundation. So she runs the Pride and Joy Foundation, and she came out late in life, and so we had a great conversation with her about that. I think like our big thing is like we want it's hard to say that the queer community is a monolith. We say this all the time. We're like, we're not all the same at all, like at all. But we do want people on every part of the spectrum to feel like they have a place to listen and feel like we like know them and accept them, like wherever they are on the LGBTQ spectrum, or like where they are in their coming out journeys. So that's important to us.
Even straight people. We've had straight people listen to the show and we're just like, amazing. We're so glad you're here. Maybe we'll stop talking about how terrible straight people are. We'll make a little bit more of an effort on the show.
Like, we're so sorry, Steve.
Like burn.
Not you though, not you, Steve. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
That's good. I actually had a question about your musical. So obviously it was The Flame, right? That's correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
I'm wearing my shirt right now.
Merch. So if you want to explain a little bit about that, obviously, and I think it's something to do with Broadway as well. I actually saw it on like a site where you can listen to it, and it's something on the Broadway, and I was like, oh wow, this is really like, so it's impressive. Like, do you want to explain that from sort of where that idea came from?
Yeah, where did that idea come from, Ellie?
What are you just saying? Like I was like, let's write a musical.
Yes.
Okay, but it makes sense. So Leigh and I have been working on the show for how many seasons before we wrote The Flame? 4 or 5? 4?
I think it came out after our
4th season.
4th season? Yeah.
Either way, we've been doing it for 4 years-ish. And part of Lez Hang Out in general is like every few episodes we do a Lez Essentials, which is we talk about a TV show or movie that like we want to recommend as like a
was gay.
Good actual gay like lesbian queer film. And at the end of the episode, we have a song for every one of them. So Leigh writes the songs and I do all the production work. And at that point, we probably had written what, 15 songs, Leigh?
Yeah, like somewhere around there.
So how many songs are in The Flame? I mean, more than that. 18. Okay, but still.
Wow.
But we're writing these, and a lot of them, like, I think both of us, I come from a musical theater background. I know Leigh also comes from a musical theater background. Like, we both love musicals. And there's been a few gay musicals, right? You have like, on the top of my head, you have like Fun Home, you have The Prom, you have even like Jagged Little Pill, which was super controversial in terms of queerness. But like none of them had a lesbian couple who was like the focus, like the center of the storyline, right? And also had a love story and a happy ending, right? Because when you look at Fun Home has a lesbian main character, not super happy. The prom lesbian characters, like it's about them, but it's
like
also
secondary.
more about the other 4 people in it, right? Like Rent, lesbian characters definitely like somewhere down the line, like Roger and Mimi are top, right? Like, so we've had lesbian characters in musicals, but we wanted to write something where the lesbians were front and center. And so we had that conversation. And then many other conversations after that to be like, can we do this? It wasn't like,
And because the other thing is, it was like right around the time, there's a site called Let's Watch TV that some of our friends run, and they do a lot of like statistics, like lesbian representation in the media stats and stuff like that. And they had just posted this thing right around the same time about how if you look at lesbian storylines in the media, 5% of them have happy endings.
Wow, was that
and
it?
we were like,
Bloody
that's wild. Like, that's
That
wild.
is wild.
And we were like, how do you change that? Like, how do you change that? What can we do, right? Like, I think it was sort of this conversation where we're like, what can we even do about that? Like, how do you go about affecting that? And we were like, well, you know what? We could make our own damn representation. And what we know how to do is make songs and make podcasts. And so that's kind of what we landed on. You know, we're like, we're not film people. We're not going to go out and like make a movie tomorrow, but we know how to make a podcast, and we both love musicals, and audio fiction is a thing. And there's a handful of like audio fiction musicals that are out there already. You know, like it's not a super populated genre, but there's examples out there. And so we just, you know, Ellie pitched it. I immediately was like, well, that's insane. Who's going to write this musical? And she's like, you are. And I was like,
pressure.
Okay.
And you did.
And I did, but we did bring in, we had Valerie Rose Sloman, who's a fantastic voice actress. She had come on the podcast already, so we were sort of in touch with her. We knew that she obviously is much more connected to the world of like making, you know, she's a BAFTA nominated voice actress, where like she knows a lot more about the kind of voice acting side, that type of project, how you hire voice actors and things like that. So we brought her on to help be sort of part of the core production team with us, because we didn't have any experience with any of that. And she also brought with her, she had a friend who is a writer, Caitlin Clear, who's just incredible. And so that sort of formed our little core team of the project for The Flame. And yeah, it was just, I mean, again, it was like, you know, you get people in a space who are the type of people who want to make something happen. And it just sort of becomes possible in a way that it doesn't always seem possible when you first just like think up an idea. And then, yeah, I mean, it like, you know, like you were saying, like I still, every time I listen to the episodes, and it's like the first moment when that first score opens up, you know, and I'm just like, it's like being in a seat at a show, you know, it just like, that's it. I remember when we first got the first edit of episode 1, and I was just like, you didn't know if it was going to work until you heard it, you know? And then we listened to it and I was like, oh God, that works so well. Yeah. It works so well. It's like so effective. And it just feels like you have like a whole stage and a pit and everything. It's, I don't know. I'm still just like amazed every time.
I mean, we're definitely very, very proud of it. Like it is everything we wanted it to be and more. And I think you were saying like too, like about Broadway, right? So the plan in general, like eventually is to get the Flame up live somewhere for a longer run, right? We did the podcast, so you can listen to it. You can listen to the entire thing as an audio fiction. And then last September, we did a live version in New York at 54 Below, which is like an off-Broadway theater. So like that was super cool to like put it up in New York City. Yeah. And it was like cool. One day we did a concert version, we did a stage reading, and we got to like hear everything with everyone in the same place. And that was really cool too. But yeah, the next steps are to get it somewhere on its feet live for a longer time. And like Broadway is the dream always, but like it could go anywhere. Like even just to have it live in like another major city would be so amazing. So that's like, we have we actually are writing another musical right now. So that's our top priority in terms of our production. We have Lez Hang Out, and then we have Dollar Bean Productions, which is the two of us plus Valerie and Caitlin. And our mission at Dollar Bean Productions is to write musicals with a guaranteed happy endings. And so our next one is we're in the works now. We actually have a recording session right after this.
Wow.
So
I mean, you have to be able to produce. If you don't see what you want to see, the next best thing is to be able to try and produce that in whatever way that is, because you're never going to get any representation or at least if you can try and find a way to help people make that representation. I think that's what's the most important, I think.
Well, and when it's in your hands, like, you can make those decisions, right? Mm-hmm. We're not working with we don't have network execs to like approve the kind of representation that you want. So like, yeah, when we did The Flame, it was like, hey, we're going to have 2 lesbian couples. That's the only romantic storylines in the whole thing. My character in that show is a romantic, which is like, we have a whole song about being a romantic. And I'm like, that's not representation that you see a lot. Journey to the Heart, our core, our core romance in that is a polyamorous like relationship with 3 people. I mean, it's just like, we get to decide. And so we get to look around and say, hey, what are the things that like our community doesn't get to see a lot of, like, even if you see like, oh, there's a love triangle, and then it's always like, who will they pick? And we're like, yeah, they all love each other. That's the point. Yeah. That's how it works. They all love everyone. So they're just going to all pick each other. Like, that's,
it's always like, who's going to pick who? It's like,
right, exactly.
It's fun.
Just, exactly. And it's like, sometimes you watch movies sometimes and you're like, why aren't you just all in a relationship together? Like, but that's not what that's not what you're gonna get on Fox or on what. So we're like, yeah, but we're making the calls, so we get to decide. And like, this is a queer musical, and we can just do whatever we want with it. So it's fun, and it's gives us a little bit more opportunity to make the kind of representation that we're always saying we want to see. So let's just make it.
Yes,
exactly. Why not? So what shows are you currently watching? It doesn't have to be gay, but I mean,
they're always
preferably.
gay.
Yeah, what sort of things are you watching at the moment?
Like, if I watched a straight show, it'd be a huge waste of my time, like, in so many ways.
I know. It's like every now and then, yeah, there's like one thing where I'm like, don't tell anyone, but I watch this and there's no one gay in it, but I still like it.
It's almost embarrassing. It's like the other way around.
It is. It really is. Yeah. I'm watching Yellow Jackets. That's my big one right now. Is Yellow Jackets. Obviously, if anyone has seen the show, I mean, it's bonkers wild, and this season is like so good. We keep having to experience these episodes every week. But it's also just, it's so well done. The cast is incredible. Obviously for us, like Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays Thaisa, was in The Flame. And so when I first started watching, I was like, well, Jasmine's in it. I have to watch it. My wife hated me because she is not like a real supernatural or like this like verges on horror for her. And she is not a huge fan. And she was like, are we really going to watch this? And I was like, yes. But now also
hide under the pillow.
I can't stop.
Yes. I'm also currently watching Yellow Jackets, but if you want to, like, one of my favorite, probably all-time favorite queer content to have ever came out this year, which is A League of Their Own.
Yes. I love it.
Was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was perfectly crafted television. It was like everything I want to see from like diverse queer storylines. Like, it was perfect. And
yeah,
one of the things that's happening a lot, I'm sure you know, so many of our shows keep getting canceled.
Yes.
So like, it's almost like, it just feels like, I'm like, yeah, a lot of the shows that I've seen, I watch them and there's gonna be no more of them.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Like, what do you think of the cancel the gays? It's like full on, it's gone from bury your gays to cancel your gays. Literally.
And I feel like it's this, like, it is not the same exactly, but it's just still very harmful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. Like, it really physically hurts.
Listen, so someone posted a thing on our Twitter yesterday about how like everything, it was like a meme they made with like everything leads back to step roll, and I just said I'm about to make it my whole personality, and here I go. Devin Hales, who plays April in Teenage Bounty Hunters, just posted on her Instagram yesterday. She made like a whole little edit of clips from the show of like her character on the show and whatever. But she was posting it also to highlight, because of the writers' strike and everything right now, just like how good the writing on that show was. And I'm like, I'm never gonna get over it. I'm never gonna get over how good of a show it was, and only getting one season of it and ending on like the cliffhanger that it did. I'm just like, this is a hate crime. This is a hate crime. Only getting 4 more episodes of A League of Their Own is a hate crime. This is an attack on the game. And like, it should be illegal. It's wild. And it's like the fact that you're seeing like some of the responses to the strike right now, where people are like, oh, now like, Netflix can just skip the process of even putting out a first season, like, because they have no writers. It's just, you're like cutting straight to the cancellation thing.
It's a joke, like, but also actually,
it's like, but it's so real. It's so real, and it's horrible. It's horrible. We talk about it a lot on the show, obviously. I mean, it's like, this is, like, the show is about just like queer experiences in a general sense, but obviously like Ellie and I are very big on media representation, stuff like that. And so it's the last like year, 2 years have just been heavy. Like, it's heavy and it sucks, and it feels like we don't know what to do about it. And so again, it's like, our answer is like, well, we can put out what we can put out. I don't know how to fix the fact that like, how do you win when the bottom line is money, and the queer community is never going to be the biggest money maker out there? Like, we're not big enough for that.
Also,
and so,
to challenge that, I literally feel like there's like, it doesn't matter how much money, like I feel like they're putting like unrealistic caps on us, even, where it's like,
no, absolutely. And every time you
hit a benchmark, they move it up.
They move it.
Right? Like, where it's like, I do feel like there's enough capital in the queer community.
Yeah, but especially if it doesn't have to be an expensively made show.
Yes.
First Kill was crazy. Not an expensively made show.
Exactly. There are definitely shows that you think that there's stuff that's being made that I'm sure is not as popular, but it seems to be that
they
gets
keep
through.
Banking on, it's like, oh, we're gonna make the next Game of Thrones. Here's the, like billions of dollars we're gonna throw at the Wheel of Time and the next thing. And you're like, literally just give us these kids in a high school. Like, you can just film them on your phone. Like, I don't
2
care.
Yes. It's the quality of the writing, not the expensive amount of effects. Is what I found makes a story.
Well, and it's the same thing with Teenage Bounty Hunters. I don't think that was like an excessively expensive show to make either.
Oh, that's what I was talking about too.
Yeah. Well, you said First Kill.
I also First Kill, but then I was like, give me these kids in high school, and in my head, it's always Teenage Bounty Hunters. You know that, Ellie.
but that's my point. Is like, it's frustrating because you're like, it also feels like they're not giving us like a way to get our content made, right? I feel like years ago we were like, okay, everyone, every single person watched the show because they care about numbers. And we felt like we could, like, if we all just watch the show, we can save it.
Yeah.
Right?
And then First Kill was in top 10.
Now we all watch the show. We get emotionally connected. And they're like, still not enough.
Yeah, I think they've got to realize a way of, because there's so many international fans for stuff, they need to make a way of actually being able to look at figures from how it affects everybody. Because like, if it's a show that's just aired in America, actually loads of people in the UK and Europe and everywhere watch it as well. Well, it's not only about the numbers then, is it, in America? Because actually you've got a wider audience nowadays than you have back then. But there's no way of actually like showing that. And I think that's where social media comes in. But then if they're not also worried about, I mean, look at Warrior Nun and Winona Earp, for instance, massive outcry, but yet nothing's happening. And even League of Their Own's got massive outcry as well now. But it just seems like almost they're scared. Like, they don't know how to market it. They can go, well, we've put these gay characters in because we've been told that you guys want gay characters. But we don't want to kill them off, so we don't really know how to go this about without offending anybody. So let's just cancel it while you guys still like it. That's kind of like almost, we don't know how to carry on this story without offending anybody. Right. That's kind of what it feels like sometimes. And I'm like, it's not really the point.
And again, like that's the problem is, I mean, you know, we focus a lot on like the representation in the media. The problem is there's no representation at the level of the people who are making these decisions, right? And so that's the problem, is like when you just have cis het white dudes, old cis het white dudes running these networks, and that's, you know, they just don't care. They don't care. And so that's what's frustrating, is I don't see it being a problem that's wildly going to change until you start seeing a change in just the demographics of who's making those calls, you know?
Yeah. Agreed. You can just see all these old white dudes sitting there going, yeah, that's not making us me. Cancel that. Cancel that.
Yeah. Well, and especially because to them,
Let's
they're like,
oh, white superheroes on.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, you have to have a gay show so you don't look homophobic. Like, okay, well, we did a season of that one, but it'll cost more to do the next season. So let's just start a new one, and you can pay them season 1 rates and
exactly.
do it for pennies. And that's what they just keep doing. And it's so frustrating. There are things I am never going to recover from, and like Teenage Bounty Hunters is one. Not getting like 6 seasons of A League of Their Own is one. The Wilds, don't get me started. Listen, it's just,
well, that went downhill on 2nd season, didn't it? Now,
who needs boys? There never should have been boys in the first place. Just
they should have never brought the men in.
No. They should have known their demographic and stuck to it.
They'll never learn.
They'll never learn.
That's actually funny on another level, where it's like, actually, you tried to make it appealing to straight people, and then you turned off all the lesbians who were your demographic, and then season 2's numbers tanked because none of the straight people even wanted to watch it either.
Yeah.
And you know what's so sad too is, like, if you ignore the boys in season 2, the writing for the girls in season 2 was like chef's kiss. It was so good. The scenes that they had in season 2 were fantastic. And I'm like, just get rid of the 60% of the show that you made about men. No one needs this.
True.
I mean, there could be the little sub story in the corner.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but like very sub.
Yeah. Every now and then. Okay, so I've got one question to round us off. We'll have a nice fun one. So, if you could create in your fantasy world your own queer TV show or movie, no budget, nothing, what would you like to do? What would your storyline be?
The Flame. I'm just kidding. I'll give you another answer, but I do love The Flame. I'll give you another answer. Okay, that is a great question. No budget.
No budget.
That's amazing.
Like, what would your dream? Fly them off to Australia?
Lesbians in space. Here we go.
I'm trying to think, like, what
they're fighting dinosaurs. How much can we... all the CGI? No,
time travel. I mean... What haven't we seen yet? Like, what would be like so outrageous that would be a good fun?
I mean, like, there's plenty that we haven't seen.
Here's the problem. We have done over 100 Should Have Been Gay episodes, and a lot of our Should Have Been Gays are kind of like Ellie and I reimagining, like, what if we could remake this movie but actually make it as gay as we want it to be, or as it should have been. And we've come up with so many. But I don't know. I feel like for us, the thing is like, we talk a lot about this idea that there are straight people have so many like touchstone movies and things, you know, where it's like there's these cultural that are just like part of the zeitgeist, you know. And so you have like straight people get to have The Notebook, and they get to have their Titanic, and they get to have their like just all of these movies that like not just everybody knows about, but that becomes something beyond, you know. And it's just, I feel like queer people, we have a lot of movies, we don't get to have that, you know. And so it's like, that's the thing, is like, I feel like my dream would be to have like the gay versions of that. Like, that's what I want, you know. I want
like epic
us
stuff.
like I just want to have, but like with a happy ending. Like that's the main thing for us. Is I feel like Ellie and I are very much like, I don't even care. I'm like, everything we do is a rom-com, and that's great because we need that. We don't need more The World to Come. We don't need more. Like, we don't need more tragic, like sad move. Like we don't need them. We don't need them. No. We need happy. And if that means you call it a rom-com, I don't care. I'm like, give me gay Titanic where they get to fall in love and spend the rest of their lives together. Get him on the damn door, right? Like, give me gay Romeo and Juliet where they run off and you know, like get married at 16. Great. Don't care. Like, I want something that transcends. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want. That would be my dream. I don't know what that is, but I want it.
I think we're on the same page where I'm like, it has to be a rom-com, but I think like Booksmart was like sort of there for me.
Yeah.
Right? But I want something like Booksmart but gayer. So like I feel like there's like that, like I want this like epic comedy. I don't think I want it in high school though.
I feel like I think it'd be nice a bit older. Yeah.
There's like so much high school shit, right? So even like, I don't know, like a version of like, I hate The Hangover. Like I don't actually think it's really funny, but you know what I mean? Like there's some sort of like wedding comedy. Actually, I would love, so I sing in a wedding band, so like weddings are on my mind, but wedding comedy, My Best Friend's Wedding, right? Mm-hmm. Where one woman's getting married to another woman, right? One of them's the best friend. Her best friend and ex is at the wedding. And they have that whole thing where they're like, I've been in love with you forever. She leaves her fiance for her best friend. Like we like.
Oh my God! What if she sings in the wedding band, Ellie? What if she hires her ex's wedding band?
Because, wedding singer, right? The wedding singer.
Yes.
But
yes. Okay?
Yes.
And then you have the like. She writes her a song. Okay, listen.
Cheesy as yes, do it.
Yes, but I'm like every time we start coming up with ideas, we're just like, this is the best. Like, let's do it.
But that would be great. Like she's like, oh, like I need a wedding band. Like I can't really pay a lot. Like give me a best friend discount. And she's like, of course I'll do it for you. And then like they have to spend all this time. Like we don't ever spend a lot of time with the couples as a wedding.
Because
like
she's been in love with her since they broke up.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We keep planning the set list, and then every song like on the set list flashes back to an old memory of the two of them when they were together. They're like, oh, I love this song. Remember? Bam.
You just want it where you can sort of smile all the way through. You just feel like happy, because you don't get that very often.
We just never get that.
You just don't. You can just feel like I feel relaxed.
Ellie,
we're making this.
We're making this idea.
Write it down.
How do we copyright?
Write it down. It could be super cool. Yeah.
You never know.
A lot of you need a lot of rights to it, unless all the songs are original songs.
There you go.
Boom.
Thank you for that prompt.
Oh, you never know until you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on anyway. I always like to talk to people who have a similar sort of outlook as well about queer content and trying to get representation, because the more the merrier, I think. Like the more people who can spread the word, the better.
That's our dream.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. It was really nice talking to you.
No problem. It was nice to see you guys again.
Cool. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
You too.
Hi. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out our social media, which is linked down below, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.